Good morning and welcome. This is a live broadcast, and hopefully, you guys had a great new year and going off to a successful year that's ahead. But we're here to talk about something that can be very emotional and very hard, and that is, and it's not a secret, but we call it the secret how to fight CPS and win. And you probably want to know what is CPS. But before I go there, let me introduce myself. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host for the show. And this show is put on by Vincent W. Davis. He is a licensed family law attorney. He's very professional. He has a trial law background, so he knows about uh, trials, and he is very experienced in getting kids back. He helped me get my kids back, and he's helped others fight CPS, and he does win. He knows all kinds of things, he has years of experience, and he can go everywhere that people need help. He offers a 30-minute to an hour free consultation to talk to him about strategies and how to get your kids back and how to fight CPS. It's very vital you talk to him because, as you know, when you're sick or ill or you need something with your body, you go and see a doctor. Well, I hate to say it, is CPS is not a friendly pace. It's not for you. They say family reunification, and it's far from the truth, and I'll explain to you further on. But you need to have an attorney, and Vincent W. Davis is the man. And he can be contacted at 888-888-6582. That's 888-888-6582. It's on the lower part of the screen that you're watching this broadcast. He also has a calendar, and it's a website, https colon forward slash forward slash um, calendar.com forward slash. Oh, I have to read it again. It went too fast there. Yeah. It'll come on again. Forward slash. Okay. It's https colon forward slash calendar.com forward slash apptsvwd. So that is his calendar, and you can see when you can schedule a time. But if you like him or you need that help, he's your man to retain him. So please call in. Now, this show is broadcast live on Facebook, through YouTube, and it's done every day except Sundays. And we usually have a speaker that has had experience with CPS from a different part of the country. You'll find that CPS, and I'm talking from Southern California, may be a little different than other states, but one thing they do have in common is they need money. And you probably wonder what money about. Well, that's how they make the billions of dollars. In my case, it took me a lot of money to get my kids back, and that's what their goal is to drain you. And they get money from the federal and the state so much, it's $1 billion business. In Southern California, the place that houses the Orange County one is a Taj Mahal of a place. It's a beautiful building, but it's unnecessary. Has to, spend that kind of money, and the managers and the people from the top dog all the way to the bottom, they are corrupt. And I know that from experience. My case started in 2015, and it took 3 years to get two of my three children back. And it was a cumulative of terrible things. Also, I had a very expensive lesson to learn. I needed to get an attorney right away. I tried to handle it myself, and I tried to fight City Hall and fight the top dog. I met the top dog, but experience has shown me now what they're trying to do. Uh, they are corrupt. The workers are very, very inexperienced. The workers' average age is in their low 20s. They're not married. They have no family background. And you need to really have people that are quality trained. And one thing that I really advocate is to talk to your representative, talk to your government representative, and make changes so that family unification should be what it means. Bring the family together. That means the family children, the mother, the father, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the stepmother, the people in charge of taking care of the family, want to get they all should meet once a week to work out the differences, to work out the plans. And they can take parenting classes. They can do, a lot of people have hiccups. Some may have a drinking problem or a drug problem. Some may have stupid things like forgetting their child or things. In one case, I heard that someone during the COVID couldn't bring their children with them when she was having a baby. And that's speaking another thing. When you're in family services or with CPS, do not have any more children because they'll take away the day the baby's born. It's a traumatic experience, but they're so powerful they can take away your baby. They also will lie and cheat their way into your home. By law, they have to have a court order, and that court order has got to be done by the judge. It's got to specifically tell you what they can do. Same thing goes with the policeman. No one can enter your home. It's your castle. It's your home. They have to have a court order that tells exactly what they can do. And so, because the CPS here in Southern California and elsewhere uses police and abuses the usage of police, I think, furthermore, that when someone makes a complaint, and all complaints that are made should be done in writing and signed by the individual. Don't have to disclose their name, but they should be signed by the individual and sent in with a phone number so they can follow up on it, because a lot of the allegations are from family members. Family members create what's called alienation. We've heard the word alienation. What that means is that you're going to try to pit one parent against the other parent or one family member against the other family member. And those kids uh, are coached and are mistakenly led to believe things that are not true, and they try to alienate. The purpose of CPS is to break up the family and have the children in group homes, in shelters, in foster care, and stretch the time in their hands so they get more money, more funding. And I think that that's got to be controlled about that. I think what's happened is that you need to hire and you have to have a seasonal worker. Somebody at least has 10 years of doing this and can work as assistant to another worker there. That means there could be more money paid, more people, but maybe the Gucci purses, the BMW cars, the nice things. CPS is not a get rich job. It should not be that way. It takes a certain kind of individual with training and education, and it should not be given to anybody who looking for a fast buck. It's a very serious business to work with families, to work with children. It's very emotional, and I sometimes get emotional in these shows, even though it's been um, 9 years since I started with the CPS back in 2015, and 3 years get my family back, and then this has been really, really hard. 6 years, and it still hurts me, still affects me. The loss of our daughter is so heartbreaking. She was asked to divorce both parents at the age of 12 and her brothers. She's 21 now, but there isn't a day goes by. And even though she's divorced from her brothers, I still encourage her brothers to see her and keep in touch with her. I don't have any touch. I've not seen her since 2015. In fact, during the time the investigation goes on, they never had any monitor visits with her. I couldn't even see her with a monitor. My wife at first was, but then they took away her rights and really hurt my wife a lot. And for all you mothers out there, I feel for you. For all you fathers out there, I feel for you. And so, um, anyway, we're supposed to have a guest speaker this morning. We usually do, and they usually talk about cases. And I've had grandmothers on this show. I've had fathers and mothers. I have people that are trying to get their grandchildren back. I've had other people brought up in the system. It seems like if you're caught up in the system at the age of 3 and you go through the system to the age of 18, you're messed up. There's such bad things that go on with foster care. Yes, children are neglected and abused. I'm not denying that. And yes, there are cases, but they're isolated cases, and those isolated cases make big news. And they think that all families and all people are like each other, but everybody is different. Everybody comes from a different walk of life. We also have a lot of people that have come to the United States with a lot of their culture values and everything, and are trying to integrate into becoming uh, um, Americans. And they are in the court system too with their children. And because it's not because of money they take from them, it's the money they get from the state and the federal government is why these children are kept in there. The courtrooms, my experience, uh, are standing room only, meaning they don't even have seats for you to sit down. You have to sit there for hours. Also, the courtrooms do not allow the parents in except maybe a very rare occasion when the judge is going to give his sentence or what he wants you to do. You aren't allowed to listen to the proceedings. Also, most people do not have lawyers. They have what's called public defenders, which are a lawyer, but they have 20 some cases and they're overwhelmed. They have about 5 minutes, and they're not going to fight for you as well as a lawyer that you pay money for, because that lawyer that you have to pay a retaining fee for will fight for your children. You have to get a good lawyer. And so that's really important that you do that. So when they come into the courtroom, it's usually the public defenders, the social workers, the therapists, the counselors, and the judge. And in my case, the judge that was taking my case was a judge. His background was how to handle property damage, collisions with cars. He knew everything is about fenders and bumpers and stuff, but he knew nothing about putting a family together or what the problem was or the root of the problem. And also, when you're brought in before CPS, you are um, presumed guilty until you're presumed innocent. Like every other law that you break in our country, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. But in CPS, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And that's a hard thing to work on. It affects your job, it affects your employment, and your home. You lose your home. I lost my home. I lost so much that words can't describe. And at age 74, I'm 74 now, it still is bothering me. It still is bothering me. I know that somehow maybe people that wanted to hire me see my involvement with CPS, that's maybe used against me. Or maybe it's my age, which you're not supposed to. But it all started with me, of course, at the age of 60, losing my job. And that was a hard thing to take because I'd worked since I was 15. I worked all my life. I paid for everything and did everything. And I tried my hardest to build a family over my life. I love my family dearly. Um, I was very fortunate to meet my wife, who came from a family that she didn't realize that they should have been investigated because there is alienation by her family. Her family is what got us into trouble. Yes, there are things that my wife and I did that were wrong, and we learned from that, stuff like that. One thing I will tell you is number one, if you get involved with the allegations, do not let CPS in your home, do not speak to them, and do not let the police in your home until you get representation. You need to know how legally you can defend yourself. If you let them in your life, in your home, they'll see everything and they will exaggerate. They will look for things. It was so bad in my case, they had 15 people show up at my home and they tricked me into coming home, and they were measuring my smoke alarms. They were testing my smoke alarms. They were looking for all kinds of things. Did the water work? Did the gas turn on? Did the electricity on? They were looking for one violation, and the only thing they could find And it's a sad thing when your family, your mom and dad, die in life. They all go through this thing, well, what to do with their belongings, what to do with them, how to take care of them. And that hit me at the same time I'm trying to find work, trying to take care of my family. I had my mom and dad slowly dying. And so I had their belongings in my house because at the time I didn't have any additional funds. When I lost my job, it was a traumatic experience. Yes, I had money put away, but I had a very expensive lifestyle. My mortgage payments were through the roof. And that's one thing you'd want to do is don't get a mortgage payment that is, you know, uh, that is so hard to handle. And I had one of those predatory loans. I had a lender who thought about nothing more than getting bonuses every time he refinanced. And I kept wondering, why am I getting refinanced so free? Why is this happening? And then he gave me credit lines. And later I found out that he dockered my income and doubled my income. He lied on the paperwork. I found that. Yes, I did do a lawsuit, but the lender went out of business, and the new lender settled for $5,000. It was terrible. It was terrible. So, and again, I should have got an attorney. All this is a mistake of not having an attorney. It's worth the money you pay your attorney to hire one. And um, uh, this attorney can help save you in the end. But in my case, I was doing stupid things. It's like I believed the police and the social workers, which are the CPS, Child Protection Society, that's Child Protection Services, not society, were your friend, were there to help you. You thought that the government people and the local government people, the state government people, and the federal government people, you think all these government people are there to help you. And sad to be saying is that I was taught that how government works when you take government in high school and college. Yes, I have a college degree. I have many years of teaching experience of working very unusual jobs, from managing of high class seafood restaurants to training and managing cetaceans like killer whales, dolphins. Um, I have been an ocean lifeguard. I am a jack of all trades. I can do almost anything. Put my mind to it. I have a lot of experience. I have over 40 years as civil engineer, heavy highway construction, and I, have many years as a scientist because I'm trained and educated as a marine biologist. So, with that said, I was one of those people that had a good income, good job, and I had a hiccup in my life. I lost my job. And you say, well, how can a guy lose a job? Well, there's lots of reasons. In my case, again, I believed in the government. My job was to get work for the company I worked for. My goal was to be a salesman. I bid on public works jobs. Little did I know that the governor of the state of California at that time would squander all the money. That governor loved his billowing tents and his cigars, but he could care less about how to manage money. And so what he did, I had picked up all this work for the company, and I had a lot of work. I'm talking millions of dollars of work. He wrote IOUs on public work contracts, which is at that time I should have got a lawyer at that one too. But I couldn't start. And my owner of the company said, well, how can we afford to pay you, or how can we afford to hire people or do work here? I got to close the general contracting part of my business. So, and I went out to banks thinking that banks would be willing to do credit lines. They were so hurt through their stupidity of allowing loans to be given out to every Tom, Dick, and Harry with no credibility checking out the person's income or anything like that. It was a scam. The banks failed. Every bank went underwater. Every bank went underwater. And it's all because of the lendings they were given. There were so many easy loans and so many documents, and people were making lots of money. And this is about 2007. But it has a ripple effect. It later on, the state of California was going bankrupt, just like Detroit, Michigan, the city of Detroit was going bankrupt. So the governor at that time decided to move funds around, and he laid off all the social workers who are making, you know, good paying jobs with all the years experience, laid them off. And I didn't really think about that too much. And they did all the public works contracts or IOUs. With that being said, the um, uh, the job that I had, worked a long time and so forth, I was let go, and it was hard because at first I had money put away, but part of my money was robbed because when the banks failed, the stock market failed, and my company that I worked for invested the money in the wrong kind of stocks and bonds, and I lost half of my retirement that I had worked for all these years. I mean, that's a lot of money to lose. Most people retire after 30 years or something like that. But to lose all your retirement, half of your retirement is a big hit. But I was determined and I, looked for other work in my field because my age at that time was 60. Age was going to be a factor. People were saying, you're not going to get any work. No one's going to hire someone 60 years old. I don't feel it. I don't look it. I don't act it. I'm forever young. And so I've proved them wrong about that because I have gotten work and stuff. But it's one of those things is that you keep trying and trying. And when your parents are dying and suddenly your household is inundated, and I had all my personal belongings from my parents, and I should have put them in storage, but I didn't have funds at the time. I had them covered on the car apron in front of the garage, but there's a private community. It was a community with CCNRs, and they said you can't have, even though with the tarp it looked like it's just some storage. You can't do that. So I had to move it inside. So when you move 4,000 belongings from one home into your home, and you're at 3,000 square feet of belongings, it makes it too hard. Boxes get piled up high. It's clutter. It is a mess, and I do agree that they got me there. They got me for negligence against the children. And you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute. Um, what is what is um, the negligence? Well, CPS is entrusted. It's a branch of social services, and it's entrusted to protect our children. So anytime they hear someone call in and say, hey, so and so is not feeding the kids, so and so has no electricity, so and so is using excessive corporate punishment on the kids, so and so is using the kids for sex. You know, there's a physical abuse and there's sexual abuse, and that's called sexual negligence through um, parents that get gratification through that. And that's wrong. And that happens also young children growing up with siblings with each other. My wife's family should have been investigated about that. And they had done things that we saw later that they violated and were not protecting my wife, who has been violated several times in her life. She's gone through so much. She's gone through so much. And she has really been hurt and stuff, but she never gives up because why? She has a strong faith in God. And I'm not here to preach you, but having that faith is really important. And she has a strong faith, and she uh, loves her family, and she loves God, and she tries her best way of handling things. Our number one problem between me and my wife was that we could not discuss or talk without going into an argument. That is a form of domestic violence. If you're sitting there yelling in front of your children, you're doing domestic violence against your children. They will see that, and it hurts them because a child is brought up to love a mother and father. The first words is mama or dada, and I love you, mama. I love you, dada. They want to be whole, they want to be nurtured. So when they see they're both parents sitting there, and some are very abusive. Some will take fists and physical things against each other, some will get very, very bad. That is that is negligence against the children. That's causing psychological harm. It's also annihilation, meaning where one parent is pitted against the other parent. You can't do that. You have to be reunited with your kids. You can do a timeout. It's something that I wish I'd done. You do that with your kids because I don't like corporate punishment. So you do timeout with your kids. But when you do timeout with your kids, you as parents should do timeout. There are times in your place of employment. I wish I'd done timeouts. It's where you break away and you take a timeout. It's like if there's a big fight that breaks out in a sporting match, they do a timeout. Sometimes they have to cancel the game so they can come back later and play the game again. So timeout is a good tool. You can do it by driving in the car, discuss your family while you're driving in a car, but sometimes that can be dangerous. I think the best timeout is for both people to go their separate ways for an hour, take a walk, take an outside walk. If you live close to the beach, walk along the beach. Live in the mountains, take along the mountains. Anywhere you live, there's parks, place, take a time out. After your time out, you come together and you sit down someplace away from the children and you try to discuss it. Sometimes outline your thoughts. Put on a piece of paper what you want to talk about. Being a parent is a team player. Being a parent, you want to take care of your kids. And what hurts me so much is the stories I hear how these parents will cry and fall apart because they're losing their children. And it's not really through fault of their own, it's knowing the tools. When we're born, we're not born with a manual that says, oh, this is step one, how you raise a child, step two, and so forth. There's no owner's manual with children. Children are brought into life with love. I mean, that's how you made the child. You make love to them. And a child is born and created, and you're so happy. You're so blessed. You're so excited. I know sometimes culture things will get in the way and stuff, but I've yet to ever meet a parent that didn't love their children so bad they're willing to do anything to get their children back or be with their children. And I know all of you that listen, this is a live broadcast, that are hurting out there, that please, call in and talk on the show because I help you. I help uncompress and uncompressionize yourself so that you get it out in the open with your heart because we all hurt. It's sad. It's sad. We all love people. We all love being around people and stuff. And so when there's a dysfunction in the family, so yes, CPS, uh, her family said some exaggerations, and that's the hard part. When the exaggerations are made, then that's the hard thing. And then I find out that they're in cahoots with each other. That makes it terrible harm. It's suddenly you don't trust the judge, you don't trust the social worker, you don't trust the agency, you don't trust the courts, the system, how it works. For all you out there, you have to know one thing is really important. I wish I'd known in the beginning. Every documentation that is CPS's, they're very good about documenting everything through notes. It's available to you. And if it's entered in court, it's going to be at the clerk's office in court. The court clerk will have all the paperwork. And you should have it. You should read it. You should make copies. If you don't have the income, they'll make copies for you. And you highlight it. You highlight it one color, meaning things you want to talk about to your attorney. Another color means something that's wrong or negative. Anyway, with that documentation, also, again, you need an attorney. I can't emphasize enough about attorney. The attorney is going to be your key to getting your children back and to fight in CPS. And I work for a law firm. It's called Vincent W. Davis. He is the key family law attorney there. He does other things in law, but he has a professional background in family law and he's a trial attorney. So he knows how to do trials. He knows about everything there is to do with CPS. He's fought across the country. He's done other states. He has gotten your children back. In fact, he has sued CPS on one cases where they've done wrong. So not only do they do wrong, but they can be sued, and you can sue them. By the way, if you're listening, you want to text me on the show there, you can text it. I'll see your comment, I'll read it, and I'll try to answer your question. I'm not an attorney, but I have a wealth of experience about how CPS works and what the agency is all about. I love to hear stories. For everybody that has a good story, I've yet to hear a good story about CPS. I've yet to hear anything positive about CPS. And I'm talking about people. I had two people this past week from West Virginia. I had somebody from New Mexico and Texas and Pennsylvania, New York, even the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. Now, that's another thing that somebody that are listening out there is that if you have Indian heritage, they take care of their own. So it's really important that if you're registered uh, Native American Indian, and I'm talking about the people that were before us, before we Europeans came over here, they're Native American. We all, if we're born here, we're a Native American. There's no question about that. But when they say Native Americans, they talk about the American Indians. They're the one culture that's been so badly abused, and I don't even want to go there because that's a horror story in itself. But I've heard from everywhere, Northern California, Southern California, um, different counties, different things. They all have something in common. Their children are taken away and they have hiccups. And some of them are misunderstanding the process and everything. So get an attorney. And how? Well, there's a number right there on the lower part of my screen, 888-888-6582. That's 888-888-6582. That is a number to get a hold of Vincent W. Davis. And he offers a 30-minute or up to an hour of free consultation to go over strategies of how to fight CPS and win. He also can be retained, and he'll talk to you about your retainer. But he's well worth every dime you spend on him, and you should also not tackle this without his help. You start the day you receive a letter or the day you receive a phone call. That's the time you need to see an attorney. It's too late. And in my case, yes, my two boys returned. My daughter was stolen, and she was brainwashed into thinking that her life would be better with somebody else. And that was a horrible story that our daughter ripped from our hearts. She is 21 now. She's still going through issues. In fact, CPS will leave scarring issues. I myself still go through CPS scars. It hurts me still emotionally. I'm talking 9 years later. I'm talking 2015 to 24. That's a long time. And it's affected me. It's affected my job searching. It's affected me, with other people, other relationships. Sometimes people hear and they look down at you. There's nothing wrong. We all in life will hit bumps. Some of us will encounter alcohol issues, drug issues. Some will be doing some mistake, poor choices, getting arrested or whatever like that. We all are not perfect. That's one thing, you know, God made us with our own free man and free will. And so we need to get our children and families back together. And I really encourage you to uh, call in. And also, the same token, if you want to be a guest on the show, please call in. We'd love to hear your story instead of hearing me every day talking. And I try to do things differently. A lot of information is on the internet. A lot of information is on the internet. Um, I things you need to know in California, and this can be true about everything, is that having CPS interview with your relationship with your children will be terrifying. That's why it's essential to empower yourself with the knowledge. The key is the knowledge to know and enforce your rights. And there's certain rights that are violated all the time. CPS knows that. They know that you don't know it. It's like you're given a complicated case of machinery, and you suddenly, let's say today you're not a pilot, and today you're going to have to fly a plane, a jet plane that goes 400 miles an hour, 400 knots an hour, and you got to fly the plane from LA to New York. Well, can you do that? I mean, the planes are built so they take off and land pretty much by themselves, but it takes knowledge. That is the key. And then you have to enforce your rights. Every day, your rights are violated. The rights that, you know, to see your children. You're supposed to have visits with your children. You're supposed to have what's called family reunification. That means they try to make you with a game plan, temporary. They may take your children out of your hands and try to put in a plan. But that plan, happens usually a week after the children are taken from you. And you try to first to put them with your grandparents or with your other siblings or things like that. We did that first. Our children were taken from a beautiful home, a loving mother and father, great schools and everything, and put into a shelter next, and I hate to say it, the shelter they located is next to the courthouse, right next to the prison. And the kids couldn't go outside because there's a bee's nest that was stinging the kids. And the kids were so crowded in there, they were getting all kinds of sickness from other kids and all kinds, because people have different cultures and different ways of doing things. The kids were horrified. First, they're horrified being ripped from school. They can take them from school. They can intervene your kids without you being present, which I think is wrong. They're afraid the parents will contaminate and stuff like that. I think as parents, you should be entitled to all things. If they want to talk to the kids, the mother, father in the room listening. We may not be able to say anything, but the kids tell their side of the story. The same thing, because there we'll know if the social workers are coaching the kids. They say the parents will coach the kids. No, the social workers coach the kids. They were told that when our kids were in a group home to put their hands to their side, not hug your parents, not hold your parents, can't say we love you, mom and dad. They were discouraged. They were trying to alienate them from mom and dad. CPS is a bad example. I mean, they are so bad. They do alienate families. They do alienate kids. They'll put mothers and fathers against each other. They'll pit the kids. Their sole purpose is to not help the family. They do it sort of nonchalant, but they'll have separate therapists, separate counselors, separate social workers, separate attorneys, and each one tries to work together, but they never get together. They only get together at the courtroom, and then the therapists are told what to ask the parents or ask the kids. There's so much coaching, so much negotiation that CPS, it's awful. It's an awful thing out there. It's got to the point where at one time there was concern. It's like the work hours. You used to say the word about our children, young children work and stuff. They're doing more protection about labor laws today. I mean, they're going to raise the income in California, in the southern part of California, to $20 an hour. And to you, that's a lot of money. To me, that's a lot of money. But somehow they still have the mentality that the people in West Virginia or Mississippi, some of the lesser states, you know, they should use the same regulations there. Every state, every area should have its own regulation. And California is a terrible state in one sense. It is very wealthy, and it takes a lot of money to pay for rent. It takes a lot of money for food. Food, gas, and your rental are really expensive. It isn't like where you can make a $200 a week job and live here. There's no way. And so that's why they're raising the income. They're trying to make it up there. But they also, with the income goes up, guess what? Your food prices go up. A hamburger meal, fries, and a drink used to be $5. Now it's $10. $10 for something there. One of the things is atrocious is your soft drink. It's only pennies it costs them, but they charge $3 or $4 for what they call a large drink. It's ridiculous. The fries are the same way because everybody needs a drink, everybody needs fries. So what they do is they give you deals on burgers so that you buy your fries and drinks, they get their money. So, you need a lot of money. And then Other things too is that our government is not working for us. Our government, and that's a whole different topic because changes have to be made. The way changes are made is you get involved. And if you can't get involved, then you have no one but to blame yourself. But we need to make changes. And CPS, there's lots of changes. There's lots of changes. As I said, it should be a meeting once a week with all the people involved that makes the plan for the family unification. It should be presence in the courtroom at all proceedings and presence at any time the children are. There's so many things that need to be changed. Handwritten accusations, everything. Don't need to give out the names, but people are more likely not to say things are not true if they have to document it in writing and sign a name to it. Nothing more easy is someone give us a phone call and say, hey, I want to tell that those parents are abusing our children by not doing the gas, electric, or whatever, or not taking baths, or hitting the kids with spoons or something like that. There has been so many things that are hidden behind scrutiny. CPS should be opened. It should be helping that, so forth. So hire an experienced attorney that can help you navigate. That means through the law. You don't know the laws. This thing about CPS, the law, you didn't take in elementary school, grade school, high school, whatever, in college. You have to know how to navigate the laws and how to and your rights. There's so many rights that they violated. They violated my rights as a father to my daughter. It was so bad. Now, CPS does an investigation, but sometimes CPS makes it very stressful. They tell you things like, oh, don't worry, your children will be fine. Don't need to do this, don't need that. You need to dress and look professional. You need to be professional with them. You need to have your attorney present. Do not disclose, discuss, or anything in there. In fact, that's how the law is. The less you say, the less trouble you get into. Now, I know we have an individual out there that likes to talk a lot and likes to be outspoken, but he also has a lot of money, so maybe he can afford it. But to me, I learned, I've learned the hard way. Now, mom says unable to care for children. Grandchildren live here most of their life, 9 and 10. Stolen from a false allegation, hasn't seen them for 5 months. Okay. Why is the mother unable? This is somebody from Cheryl Duty who texted in and said that um, unable to care. 9 and 10 stolen from us or false allegation. I love to hear from you. I love to try to help you. You need to get a public defender. You need to get a public defender, Cheryl. You know, Cheryl's written this in. You need to get a public defender, and uh, and you need to see your children. That's wrong. Not seeing them for 5 months. That's wrong. And 9 and 10 is terrible. That's an age that the slowly going to become teenagers and they'll learn bad things. I want you to call into the show, 888-888-6582, and speak to Vincent W. Davis. He will help you, Cheryl. He'll help you. So that's a hard thing. I know how sad and how hurtful that must feel for you. Um, you're a mother and you've cared for two children, but I need to know a lot more about your case so I can help you. Um, um, Now you say the grandchildren lived here most of their life, 9 and 10. Um, were the children stole from the grandparents? That's what it was. Now I understand. Okay, now after reading it, I understand now. Cheryl is a grandmother who has her grandchildren with them, and then her mom is unable to take care of them. So I need to know what the allegations are against the grandparents. They're 9 and 10. I mean, that's remarkable that you're taking care of your child's children. Um, you know, you grandparents are beautiful people out there, and I'm glad you text in. And again, if you text in more, I'll help you. Okay. Mom is homeless by her choice. Boyfriend caused all this lies. Yeah. That's the problem is with young people, sometimes they cater to boyfriends are incarcerated. I had one story the other day that, you know, you as parents try to teach your children to pick the right guy, but she liked the bad boy. She liked the bad boy. So He was incarcerated and so forth there. What you need to do you have an attorney, Cheryl? You need to have an attorney. If you have an attorney, I know a public defender isn't the right one to have, but even still, and you may have to go 3 or 4 or 5 different public defenders. I don't know what area you're in, but you definitely need help. And what are the allegations against you as grandparents about your children that are 9 and 10, your grandchildren that are 9 and 10, so that I can help you there a little bit. Okay. Okay, you can reach me at 888-888-6582. That is the law office of Vincent W. Davis. He'll talk to you for 30 minutes or up to an hour, and he'll help you with the strategies. I give you a message through the show, but also that same number you can call the schedule. We have a producer here that will schedule you in. You can talk on the show, Cheryl. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you, Cheryl. I know as a grandparent, it's an awful thing. You raised your child, and somehow your child's gone off the deep end and become homeless. There's a lot of homeless people out there, and there's a lot of changes made in our social services. I hear that social services is going to do a major change out there for all you listeners in April of this year. There's going to be major changes. They want to make Medicaid and uh, cash aid and food stamps more available to more people. They want to increase it. And largely part is we have an influx of not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of immigrants in the United States. It's doing a ripple effect. It's taxing our system everywhere. Every state is experiencing this. Again, we need to have a way of handling the immigrants. And of course, my views are probably different than most people, but I feel that anybody that comes to the United States should be a citizen, should be given the forward opportunity to become a citizen. Now, I remember growing up, and I wasn't around when Ellis Island was still there, but it used to be when you came over, and people in different areas, like the Irish, had the potato famine, and other people were persecuted against their religion because we have people from all walks of life going across the borders. Our borders need to be controlled. They don't need to be opened. We don't need to open our borders. They need to be controlled. And we need to have places for these people. We need to have a screening process. We need them to learn classes while they're going through the screening processes. It's a lot cheaper to help these people than it is to board them up and ship them back. That doesn't resolve the problem. The same thing with the homeless. We need to rent out the homeless people, get them a job, get them a warm place and stuff. We need to do those kinds of things. And it can be done, but sometimes politics get in the way. It's not the right way of things. And then I'm digressing because I'm here to talk about CPS and how to get your children back. But it has a ripple effect because these immigrants are coming with their children, and they need help. They need help, but they need to learn the language. They need to learn the government. You need to take a course in U.S. government, and you need to know how the government works. There are 3 branches in government, and they are hard branches to learn about. And our Congress has a difficult time passing policies, and somehow we keep going bankrupt. And yes, we're the richest country in the world, and we have this, but we have some of the biggest problems that the world has. And we try to save everybody, but we still got problems at home we need to address. I'm not saying forget the people in other countries. It's horrible what's happened to them, but it's happening here. People are being killed innocently. The laws are being abused and so forth. And CPS is one of those areas where it's happening. It is really corrupt and needs to be changed. We need to make changes there. We need to make it so that people believe in family reunification, that the purpose is there and stuff. So I have about 10 minutes left of the show. What I want to do is talk about the steps that are involved with there. There was a 1935 a bill by Dr. Bob, same name as my first name, founding of Alcohol Anonymous, The 12 steps is a program recovery designated to help individuals suffering alcohol addictions. So there's got to be steps that involved with CPS. And the first steps is the allegations. That's step one. They're going to come in and they are going to make allegations against you. And that can either be by a home visit or a phone call. And that is your cue to hire an attorney and get an attorney board. And if you can't find an attorney, there are lots of attorneys out there. And some have different retentions than others. They range. There's a big range of them. Yes, it's a lot of money, but if you have your life savings, it's well worth use it. So if they're okay. I have spoken to 6 of them. No one wants to go against CPS. Also, huge retainers. They would. We don't have that kind of money. And this is from Missouri. Well, talk to Vincent. He will go after CPS. Um, the ones you talk to may not have the experience. Vincent Davis devotes a lot of his free time to helping people with CPS. Anybody that devotes free time, is a good person, Cheryl. So um, I know that you don't have the money for the huge retainers, but if the case is solid enough, some attorneys would do what's called pro bono, meaning that they'll do your case, and in the end, they're going to get like 30%, 40% of what they bring in. So if they sue the CPS for $1,000,000, there's a good chance they'll get $500,000 and you get the other half. But believe me, a $1 million lawsuit against CPS is not far from truth. It happens all the time. You just need to speak to Vincent W. Davis. Again, that's 888-888-888-6582. So we can make changes. Me doing this show, I'm helping him out because of what he did for me. And he's been helping me out. And so I do this because I want to give back to what he's done for me and also give back to all the people going through. I thought with my experiences, it can help you not make the same mistakes. And the mistakes are made. A lot of people may not have a college education. A lot of people may be very poor, barely have money for food or whatever it is. And they get caught up with this thing. It's terrible. It's terrible. But long if you're strong and you keep at it and keep at it, it will happen. As I tell you, I've been fighting CPS for 9 years, and I'm determined to change, make things happen. And by me explaining that and helping people, maybe it is helping them. Maybe they don't like the idea of CPS being told what they really are, but they're money hungry agency. And yet, I've not heard from anybody that says they're not. And so, and it's typical. It isn't only in Southern California. It isn't only. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere that has happened, and it happens with people from all walks of life. Even people that have money have been abused wrong and taken advantage of. It's this alienation. And I'm using this word a lot, but alienating you from the family, alienating your kids, your grandparents, your siblings. Alienation is a terrible thing. We need to not, we got to stop alienating people. We need to work together. We need to come together. We need to be passionate and caring for each other. Just what the word says, family reunification. We need to um, um, do family reunification. And the real word means bring the family together. How do you bring the family together? How do you bring the family together? Um, um, okay. Here's what my meaning of family unification is. It's a process of bringing together of family members, particularly children, spouses, and elderly dependents. And I don't think CPS knows that definition. I don't think so either. And that was defined by UNESCO, UNESCO, was saying what family reunification is. And family reunification is reunite children with verified and authorized family members. But they don't usually use family members. Right away, they try to downplay the grandparents or the sisters, the brothers. CPS does. It's a very stressful incident. Um, it can happen through fires, natural disasters, a situation involving weapons or violence at schools. We've had a lot of violence at our schools. It is scary when we take our children there. Um, so um, CPS is bad for that. I don't know um, uh, an easy solution except having transparency with CPS. Um, anyway, I said the steps are. I said the reporting, and then they got to find the initial probing. That's the probing. They're going to try to do anything. They'll try to get the police or so forth. Then there's further investigation. Now, usually when they do the probing and they do the further investigation, this is the stage where the CPS workers will put together all the evidence they collected and determine whether the claims made against the guardians have any substantial grounds. Substantial grounds doesn't mean they're guilty, substantial grounds, but in like a sense, it means they're guilty. Then they'll have the thing called the case planning. That's where you have your first week after your children are taken away. You have your meeting with the CPS for a plan to where to put your children. And then they also have a plan about how the parents are going to get back with their children. And it's very discouraging. It's very time consuming. Um, and they really do try to play it down. But during that process, they have the monitoring process. The monitoring is where they observe and watch, you report. One state, I think it's West Virginia, you have to call in once a week. And if a certain color is called, you have to report it. In the state of Virginia, you have to pay for the some of the CPS expenses, which I was really surprised about that. There's a lots of things that happen. What this show does is that it helps you learn about other cases everywhere else because we all have something in common. We all have lost our children, and a lot of times through no fault of our own, through false allegations, and to the way the system works. It's slow, it's a very slow system, and you got to prepare for it. Again, I can't emphasize enough about having an attorney. Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, we don't have the money, but there are family members, there's a mortgage on your house, there's credit lines, there's all kinds of things you do, and it may be hard, but it can be done. I've spent way too much money, and I'm broke because of it. I'm financially broke, and I am having a hard time of reestablishing myself at a later life. And why? Well, you're supposed to be retired at golden years. I did it wrong somehow. I worked and worked and worked, and little did I know losing a job would have this effect on me. But I'm determined to be working again. I am determined to work again. And during this time, I want to be able to talk to others like yourself, listen in, like the speaker we had today, Cheryl, who is a grandparent who is losing her two grandchildren and through wrong allegations. And I think allegations can be made, but you should be guilty until you're proven innocent. And if there's serious enough allegations, then the children are taken off and put in protective custody. But other than that, they should be not guilty until you're proven innocent. So, for instance, if they say you have no electricity, gas, or water, then see the utility bills. If the utility bills are paid for, then they have gas and water. That's stupid things like that. But anyway, I'm running short of my time. I want to repeat the number one more last time. The number to call in is 888-888-6582. That number will get you in touch with the law offices of Vincent W. Davis, who is a licensed professional family law attorney with trial experience. He offers a 30-minute up to an hour free consultation. and he'll go over the strategies of how to fight CPS and win. And there, he's an excellent attorney. I recommend him, and he'll fight with you wherever you're from, whatever state is. Yes, there is a retainer fee, like all people need to be paid, but it's like a doctor. You can't do surgery on yourself. Can you do open heart surgery on yourself? No, you need to have a professional. So that being said, I hope tomorrow that someone will call in and be a guest speaker. Again, I will see you all tomorrow. I want to thank you very much for listening to me and continue to fight CPS because you will win. Don't give up on your family. Your family is the most important thing there is in there. Um, Again, Happy New Year, and I hope that the new year ahead is very successful and brings you much happiness. Bob Pace signing off.